Welcome back to another episode of the XRP podcast. Today, we're going to be getting into Bretton Woods and the idea of what it might mean as a 3.0 concept. And really, this is the battle, I think, for the DTCC. And we'll break it all down for you guys because this will get into the future of where the ledger is going, XRP ledger, and also just in general, what Ripple could be doing strategically around a bank. Do we have some big news brewing? Well, today we'll break all that down for you. It's going to be good. One thing I'll always ask you guys to do is like and subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the channel right now, do it. Step back, hit the subscribe button. And of course, if you want to get notifications when we drop a new episode, hit that little bell. It's going to get you into the layer of what we're doing here every day. I want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Uphold, where you guys can earn crypto better. A lot of things happening with Uphold staking rewards. So you can stake up to 20 different cryptocurrencies and get into the reward side of things. New tokens, early access, along with full transparency. This is one of the best platforms out there to make trades on when it comes to crypto. The other thing you guys should be doing is this right here. Get the card, the XRP rewards card, which comes in the form of an Uphold debit card. And the nice thing about this, guys, is you can do this without a credit check. Also get up to 6% back on all your purchases for the first 3 months. You can get up to 10% back with a direct deposit stacked in on this. So this is one of the best values out there when it comes to a debit card where you can get into your digital assets. Make sure and check out Uphold. Use the link down below. Let them know we sent you. It's going to be good because we'll have Jesse on today coming in from Apex Crypto. You guys know him. He's been on the show many times. It's going to be a good one for him. I want to hit on a couple of news items real quick just to give you guys some heads up on what's happening in the market because there's a lot of things that are going on right now. And a lot of people are continuing to push whether or not Bitcoin is going to make its way to a sub 60. And I think this is the issue that we are facing right now is the sentiment around crypto continues to push downward. Now, a lot of this is coming from AI woes. I will agree with that. Some of the market, we'll show the charts here in a second. Some of the market, with the exception of gold, which is now flying well above 5,000, hit almost 5,200, I think, yesterday, is getting interesting because we are dealing with a contentious Clarity Act potential. What that means now for going forward in the United States and how this is going to affect a lot of different projects, including XRP and, of course, Ripple as well. Just to give you guys a quick look, we'll go over to the charts real quick. This, of course, is XRP holding right now at around the 130-ish as we record. One thing I wanted to focus on, though, that I think is key here, and that is gold. After really retracing down to around 4,600, it has rebounded back up to 52, and it's holding steady right now at about 5,100. Now, one thing to note, you'll notice these sentiment scores right here in that lower right. That is the sentiment score on gold. And I think as we see tokenized gold make its way into one of the key assets going forward, this may be one of the plays that comes out of this. And I'm curious, are you guys diversifying your portfolio? Are you in gold right now? Are you in tokenized gold, whether it's Tether or it's Paxos? Let me know in the comments how you are looking at this. If you look at the Bitcoin chart, this, of course, is just getting absolutely hammered as we see Bitcoin now pressuring a zone that it has not seen in quite some time. Outside that wick where we flipped down to around 60K, does it hit the 50s this week? I think it might. The sentiment is absolutely full on red right now in terms of where the trading market sentiment is, as well as volume sentiment. This, of course, is something that I think Michael Saylor is still trying to figure out is and will we see anywhere in the 40s and 30s. That's the point that a lot of people are pointing at right now, is that 45K Goldilocks zone, which I think is the area that you need to pay attention to around Bitcoin. Other points I want to get on, of course, is that Meta is jumping back in the game of stablecoin. And they're going to basically make a comeback here. And the likelihood is that we could see this start to move very aggressively when the Clarity Act goes through. So be on the lookout for that right there. One other thing to kind of focus on is this statement right here, and it's what the Meta stablecoin would mean. And let me kind of zoom in on this for you guys. The integration would allow Meta to build its own payment infrastructure. You would see this over on Facebook, Insta, and WhatsApp. That's 3 billion users, okay? The positive outcome would be the resilience on a traditional banking infrastructure. So this gets intriguing, especially when you look at the competition that is coming out there, whether we see it on X or we see this in other areas that I think eventually will happen in some of these decentralized social media platforms. I know there have been others going out there with a peer-to-peer model on this. So this could get a little bit interesting over time. Another thing that is coming up right now is 31 million XRP is now moving to Binance. Whales are dominating inflows. We know that there is movement right now within XRP. It is holding a pretty good signal, but I think one of the things that you are starting to see movement on, and this is one of the first real, I think, news pieces that kind of hit. And that, of course, was the fact that we saw Arizona jumping into the mix. And what I mean by that, let me go to the story real quick, is this right here. If you look at this, lawmakers in Arizona are still moving forward with an important piece of legislation that would make XRP part of its digital coffers. This is the first state to really kind of focus in on that. A big deal going forward. So be on the lookout. More states to follow, I think, as we get into all of that. Going to be pretty cool. Hey, listen, I want to bring in Mr. Jesse coming in from Apex Crypto Insights, because this is going to get into the Bretton Woods 3.0. Jesse, how are you?
I'm doing great, Paul. How are you?
You saw the news here. A lot is happening right now, both positive and negative for the market. But one thing that is not, doesn't care about the market is the new transformation of our financial system.
Yeah.
And this is what everybody's talking about right now. XRP and Ripple are in the crosshairs of almost every major institution out there, as well as every major entity that's involved with this. And I want to just start off with the issue around this battle that appears to be happening over at the DTCC and the Canton network. So let's talk a little bit about that. And first of all, explain why Canton is even being used, what it's going to be used for, why is everybody wrong about Canton and the ledger?
Yeah, so Canton is focused on real world tokenization. And when they talk about settlement, it would be more like local settlement. So
Right.
Canton cannot do what XRP does. There's only Stellar and XRP that does cross border liquidity or cross border settlement and or cross asset. So Canton and any other blockchain do not replace XRP or Stellar. Again, it's and even Canton says this clearly. Their focus is on real world tokenization and a big partnership with the DTCC.
Right.
And again, when they talk about settlement, it's more if you're going, let's say you want to settle a transaction, but you're still going from a US based derivatives to a USDC, okay, it's fine. But if you're settled, let's say a transaction is being settled where derivatives being sold and the person selling it is in a country where he wants a peso or he wants the yen or their want or whatever, you need a bridge asset. You need XRP there. So Canton would benefit from XRP. Anytime you want to go cross border, they need to use XRP. So the main thing here people need to understand is Canton is not a purposely built bridge asset. It doesn't provide liquidity when you want to go from one asset to another instantly. It just doesn't do that. That's not what it's built for. So what we're seeing here on Twitter, X, and social media saying, Canton, DTCC is not going to use XRP. That's complete jargon. No. Like I've proven on my deep dives that Project Ion, which was a project from the DTCC using R3, is using the XRP ledger because R3 Corda uses the Corda settler, which exclusively uses XRP for settlement.
What is so with the fact that Canton is obviously focused on RWA when this goes forward, the BIS obviously wants a unified ledger. The DTCC says, obviously their partnership with Canton. Many people in the XRP community says, well, this is the perfect marriage because it does do exactly what it needs to do, which is provides a layer to Canton to go into cross-border settlement. And of course, that gets into what is potentially going to happen over at the BIS as well, which starts the process of what Bretton Woods 3.0 might look like. If you think about the BIS as the Finternet
Yeah.
kind of thing, because I think a lot of people would compare on this. Do you think that we are at a phase right now with all of these? Because it's clear now the moves are being made and it's very close and very upfront with everyone. How much longer before we start to see the connection of XRP, the ledger, and how all of this could really become one new financial system?
Okay, I just want to add one more thing that I forgot to say, Paul, in regards to the Canton, though, is they're also focused on privacy, so they have some special
Yep.
special features where different networks can have their own privacy. So it also that's the other thing Canton is providing there too for the DTCC.
Right.
Not really explaining it well right now, but they're also focused on privacy between the networks. So, for example, the other person in the other network in the subnet, they would only see what they need to see. They wouldn't see what they're not entitled to see. So there's that too about Canton. But again, it's not a
Yeah.
bridge asset. But in regards to the Bretton Woods, yeah, like the Finternet is technically just another word that they're using for the Internet of Value. So instead of
Yep.
saying Internet of Value, they say Finternet, which stands for the financial internet.
Mhm.
So the unified ledger, and I explained that a few times, but the unified ledger, the shared ledger, the Finternet concept that we're seeing coming from the BIS, the central banks for all central banks, it's all the XRP ledger, including the regulated liability network. So the way it becomes the Internet of Value is that, or the Finternet or unified, it's so complicated to explain. But basically, what they're doing is that when they're referring to the main XRP ledger, they call it the unified ledger or the regulated liability network or the shared ledger. The main one, as in not in plural, one. But when they talk about the CBDCs that are being built all around the XRP ledger,
Exactly.
that are being built on private versions of the public XRP ledger, then they refer to those as unified ledgers. Like they'll talk about the Europe using a unified ledger concept.
Right.
And so they'll say these are regulated liability networks or unified ledgers or shared ledgers plural. And this is the new Bretton Woods because the XRP ledger becomes that neutral bridge currency that all the CBDCs are going to use to settle when they go cross border.
Okay.
And then the stable coins and the commercial banks are building their, because when you look at the Ripple website where it talks about their CBDC platform that they've built for central banks, it specifically says that the XRP ledger can be used as a neutral bridge currency to between CBDCs and any other type of assets.
Mhm.
So the CBDC platform built in a private ledger allows commercial banks and stablecoins issuers to launch on top of the CBDC being backed by CBDC money, which is technically useless, right? Because
Yep.
unlimited supply. But because the private CBDC ledger has all the features of the public XRP ledger, that allows the central banks to issue stable coins and all these things. So, and this is right on the Ripple website. So that's the new Bretton Woods. Like we see them in a very subtle way talking about a Bretton Woods 3.0 or also known as a digital Bretton Woods. And this is coming from all the major think tanks. So we're seeing that from OMFIF, OMFIF. We're seeing that coming from the Atlantic Council. We're
Yeah.
seeing that coming from the Reimagining Bretton Woods Committee. And I just did a deep dive on that actually just recently. And the BIS and the, because it's all about connecting the instant payment systems of each nation, interconnecting them, and you can only do that with the Interledger protocol and the XRP ledger. And Stellar can do it too. But Stellar's not focused on CBDC. Stellar's more focused on small, medium enterprise and peer-to-peer.
Where do you think the use case for RLUSD would come from? Because they obviously they have the stablecoin solution involved in this. You have a lot of CBDCs being developed around the world, which, to your point, only strengthens the position for Ripple because of the cross-border need. And it also strengthens, I think, the thesis around what Posnar was talking about. He was getting, this is Zoltan Posnar, he's talking about the concept of where commodities, this could be gold, grain, oil, you name it, all of this would replace the USD system, basically the US dollar. as, or an alternative, I should, to where it's a USD only regime that we're dealing with right now as a global currency. You think that this could spin separately quite a bit around a global currency and a tier one asset. Explain your theory on this.
Yeah, so one thing I do know for sure, Paul, is that the new Bretton Woods is the XRP ledger, right? Because when the Bretton Woods was created, they chose the XRP ledger to be when Bretton Woods was created, they chose the US dollar to be the currency for the world to use for global trade. The Bancor was proposed, but they didn't go with the Bancor, which would have been a neutral currency that the IMF would have controlled.
Yeah, yeah.
But they warned of the Triffin's dilemma. That's going to be an issue long term because that country will have to run trade deficits. So then they tried to do the SDR, special drawing rights, to help, but that failed because they never distributed to everybody. They only gave it to central banks.
Yeah.
And then we see them planning for a new solution with the Economist magazine saying we have new technology now that can do it. So really, what they're doing right now is they're doing a new Bretton Woods, like I said, and it's to fix the Triffin's dilemma, fix the global liquidity crisis. It's to help that there's liquidity to help with global trade and the economy, so on like that. So the XRP is absolutely at the heart of this. Absolutely. The one thing that I'm not sure of, I know the XRP ledger is the new Bretton Woods. It's going to replace the US dollar as a global reserve currency. And it's beneficial for the US as well, because they can't keep running trade deficits to try to supply the world with US dollar. It just doesn't work. But the thing that I'm not sure of is, where is XRP's value, a high value potentially? Is it going to come just from straight out volume, like insane amount of volume, because you're talking 10, 20 trillion per day? Or is it coming, like you said, is it, they're going to back it by gold or a basket of commodities and assets? Like, how are they going to, because there's a document that came from the IOSCO, it's the International Organizations for Securities, and they're talking about how hypothetical case scenario, they could have a private company would issue a global stablecoin that's used as a medium of exchange, and it would be backed by what's called the reserve fund. And the reserve fund would be comprised of numerous financial assets that are held in major financial accounts globally by major financial institutions. And the value of the reserve fund would be equal to the total amount of tokens in circulation, the total amount of global stablecoins. Like this global stablecoin that a private company would issue, that is being used as a medium of exchange, the value of that would be equal to all the assets that's backing it. So that's where I don't know, like, because if you look at the original Bretton Woods, it was a global reserve currency backed by something. It was backed by gold originally.
Yeah.
And then the second Bretton Woods is technically when Nixon took us off the gold standard. And then this is why this is called the third Bretton Woods, or the digital Bretton Woods, because it's based on DLT. This is clear. It's based on new technology. It's based on DLT.
Yeah.
That's why it's called the digital Bretton Woods. And so,
well, you're dealing with, I think the clarity for everybody when you look at, because I know this is the argument I get a lot on, X, which is the DTCC and the Canton network, which is a bit of a controversy because they think it's some XRP killer in general. In reality, it's just, now granted, I will say this, there's going to be volume on this because it settles, what is it, quadrillions in trades right now. So the idea around the tokenized treasuries, but what they're trying to do is kind of a network of networks, which is interesting because if you look at Goldman Sachs or BNY, I mean, all these guys now can trade with each other without revealing a balance sheet, which is a key thing that you have to have. But there's a misconception here in terms of the DTC choosing Canton over XRP. Reality, completely different, right?
Absolutely not even 1%, because again, it's not purposely built to go cross border. It's not built to be a liquidity bridge asset. It's just not built for that. And
securities tokenization.
Yeah, that's it. And with some privacy between the subnets, between the networks, because like you said, it's a subnet, right? So they're building around the subnet. So it just doesn't do what Ripple does, and it's complete nonsense. It's misinformation.
Which is where they take XRP, which is really built for on-demand liquidity. And this is where you could get into moving assets now across border. And remember, the DTCC has stated specifically that they're tech neutral, which means that Canton is kind of the one of many integrations, I'm assuming, that they're obviously going to make. So not the only one. So that is the uniqueness, is that I think Canton and XRP obviously are going to be able to coexist, when you think about settlement versus liquidity, for sure. I want to take a minute, guys, and just invite you to join the Barron Market Edge private member group. You guys can do that by just clicking the link down in our description. This is your insider's edge to the AI and crypto money revolution, which is what we really focus on here on PBN. This is additional research that I do along with our team. We have a pretty significant team on our research around not only what guides our episodes, but a lot of that research gets built into more content that I drop here on the Barron Market Edge. We do market trends and sentiment analysis, which can be anything from tokens to all sorts of strategies. This, of course, will also guide you over to our Telegram group, and we give this as elite community access. You get bonus content over there, including tax guides, as well as different kinds of asset guides out there that we drop all the time. This is your 10-year vision in action. All you have to do, of course, is just hit that little subscribe button or join the community and get in on it. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a thing, so check it out.
Absolutely, Canton. Anything Canton wants to do cross border, go settle from one asset to the other. It has to use the XRP ledger, because what people are not realizing is the XRP ledger has a decentralized exchange, order books, the most advanced AMMs.
Yep.
It's using interledger protocol, RippleNet, which is AML compliant, KYC compliant globally, and has a global rule book.
Yep.
And the liquidity that it took them like 10 years, 15 years to build out, plus the acquisitions. You need all that. People think that you just say, and can I add one thing, Paul, please? Is Canton was just the mainnet of Canton. Think about this for a minute. The Canton's mainnet was only launched in July 2024.
Yeah.
Literally, XRP Ripple is on the steering committee for ISO that literally started in 2004.
Yeah.
And literally, Ripple goes way back to OpenCoin, and Ripple Pay going way back in 2004 as well. So, I mean, they just think a network's going to come and just replace Ripple like that. Ripple's been working on this for 20 years. And
you've also got the use of RLUSD that would play, obviously plays into this, Canton. And I think a lot of people forget that Ripple essentially already has a layer of bank integrations. They already have the layer of what will be next step, and that is tokenized securities. And then you layer in the fact that RLUSD, Ripple USD, and or XRP could be the cash leg, for a lot of this, especially on the trade capacity for instant settlement.
Yeah, and XRP Ledger has this most advanced. It has path finding and multi-hop. It multi-hops to find the best liquidity. No other blockchain has that. I'm telling you, it's so advanced, but it takes thousands of hours of research to understand just how advanced XRP is and why. Another blockchain is just not going to come along and say, "Oh, we're going to replace XRP." It's not happening. And who do we see sitting with all the central bankers? It's Brad Garlinghouse, the only CEO that you have a picture, and he's sitting with all the central bankers. I don't see. Anyways.
Well, and this, in my opinion, this is the perfect solution for a global collateral network, because the end game in Bretton Woods 3.0 is collateral is king by far. So if you're talking about moving tokenized U.S. Treasuries, let's say on Canton, you go across a neutral bridge, XRP, then you go into a BIS, unified ledger, in seconds. So you've basically solved the world's liquidity crisis right there.
Well, the unified ledger is the XRP ledger.
Yeah. So there you go.
And the DTCC just released a statement recently, and I wish I had it here, but they talked about using a single layer of liquidity, single pool of liquidity, or single layer of liquidity. And the Hyperledger Foundation said that the Hyperledger Foundation document that leaked out said that XRP Ledger was the global RTGS. So you're seeing all the central banks connecting to the XRP Ledger. So it was the RTGS system for all the central banks.
Right.
All the central banks have RTGS systems. And it said that the XRP Ledger was also the global liquidity marketplace. And here you see DTCC saying that they're going to use a single layer for liquidity. We need a single liquidity pool, and that's the XRP Ledger. That's XRP.
Explain to me because this is kind of one of those things I say it's what to watch for around this, because you have to keep an eye on many of these projects that are out there. One, of course, is Project Agorah. You and I talked a little bit about this in the last podcast. Explain to me why it's important and what could it really mean?
Project Agorah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the XRP ledger. So what I see is that in different regions, they're testing different features. So they'll say, okay, we have this project here. Project Agorah involves 4 central banks, and we have Project Mariana that uses the AMMs, automated market makers of transnational network built on DLT. Again, describes XRP to the T. And then we have Project Agorah, Project Enbridge. But I did 11 deep dives on those projects. There's 43 projects at the Innovation Hub in total. I did 11 deep dives. It's all the XRP ledger, every single one of them, but they're using different names. And it's always the same thing. It's a transnational network or a hub and spoke model, a unified ledger concept, a shared ledger concept. They kind of try to separate it as if it's all different, but it's all the same.
Yeah.
You're just using different names for every project, but it all involves the XRP ledger. Because David Schwartz had also admitted that you're going to have multiple pools of liquidity.
Exactly.
So maybe the central banks, they have a pool of liquidity for 4 central banks, 3 central banks, 2 central banks. And if you look Project Enbridge, it was seven central banks, and Project Enbridge became BRICSbridge. Now, the rumors were that, Project Enbridge was killed because it wasn't sufficient. No, I have the head of BIS guy admitting on stage saying that the reason we passed it on to BRICS Nation is because it was so successful. So BRICSbridge became, Enbridge became BRICSbridge.
Yeah.
So,
Which is, well, and this starts to kind of connect the dots to, I think, a lot of what is happening right now. One other thing that I want to get into, because this of course, at least addresses the Canton, controversy that's been out there for a little bit. Hopefully you guys can understand why this is a bit different. If somebody wants to dive in a little bit deeper on what you're reporting on, Jesse, where's the best place?
on YouTube, I do have a community as well where it's all organized, but I don't like to promote my community on someone else's channel. So, but on YouTube, all my deep dives are there. And
Okay.
I'm going to release one soon, especially about Canton, actually. By the time this airs, it'll probably be released, Canton
All
versus
right, cool.
XRP. But yeah, on my YouTube channel, Apex Crypto Insights. Thanks so much, Paul.
Well, yeah, and I think one thing to kind of expand into, because this is something that in terms of an idea that I've been building on for some time, and it's really more speculation, but a few people have been out there on Twitter talking about this. We did a video on the main channel talking about the logical progression of much of Ripple's acquisition spree between 23 and 25. And you look at their movement, obviously, to secure a national trust bank charter from the OCC. This preliminary approval granted, obviously, last year. You look at that, and then you look at the opportunity here of acquiring an existing institution instead of building one up, an existing institution. Brad was just on stage not too long ago on a major conference where someone asked him specifically, would you acquire a bank? His response was not instant. In fact, he said, I would prefer not to answer that question. So it's clear that they're already thinking about it. First of all, it would give them instant scale. They'd get a massive balance sheet, and you'd have XRP sitting on a reserve master account, with the Federal Reserve. So that is insane if this would be the case. So here's my theory, is that I think the targets could be the big boys. Remember who their biggest partner for custody is?
Yeah,
BNY Mellon.
It's the first one that came to my mind, BNY Mellon.
BNY Mellon. So I just wonder, is that in the crosshairs for it? Because you think about that, because they don't want to be just a retail bank. They don't want to be your mortgage. They want to be the prime broker and central clearinghouse, which is where you see all of this start to come together. You get stablecoin reserves. All right. You get global custody with the XRP as the bridge. And then you have BNY and all of their capacity, which is kind of the partnership parent play that plays into this. And remember, BNY Mellon, old world collateral, trillions in treasury.
Yeah, I think it's trying to remember. Yeah, is it 25 trillion they have under management? I can't.
Yeah. So
I think they
this
have
would be
25%.
It's definitely doable. Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting.
The market cap, I think, is 50 billion right now. So that would be the issue, I think. But a merger might work, especially if you think about the digital asset unit, that would be a major.
Oh my goodness.
A major. What would that look like if we saw that happen in 26?
Well, the price would probably drop by 10%.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time we have good news, the price drops 10%.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that would be crazy.
Some others that I think you'd have to watch is probably Standard Chartered. That would be one I'd be on the lookout for. There's many reasons why on that, but I look at this because that's where it gets in. Remember, Standard Chartered is the most active bank in the digital Bretton Woods shift.
Yeah.
So could that be one of it.
I
What do
think
you
they
think?
were one. I think they were. Yeah, 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 for sure. Whatever Ripple wants, Ripple will get. Because to me, it's
Yeah.
been planned for so long. And these acquisitions, we talked about that. Me and you, Paul. It's just unreal. Like to me, it's been planned for years. Like you built this out, and we're gonna buy you out at this time.
Yeah.
It's too lined up perfectly. Like
If
it's just
Ripple owned just a significant stake on any of these, they would control payment corridors for about 70% of the world's trade.
that's crazy.
That
Nobody can
is,
compete with them either way, though. But yeah, it just keeps solidifying.
yeah. I think
Very.
the last one area would be like a boutique bank. You know, if you think about some of the ones that have been out there, there's been Cross River out there, Silvergate, handful of those that have been out there. Even Standard Custody and Trust would be kind of interesting, but I don't know. There's a lot happening right here that is definitely 2026 is going to be a year to remember. You watch, guys. This is February. Here we are, into February, as Jesse and I are recording. I believe you're going to see something happen in 2026. Key here is, of course, clarity. You know, the
I, I
Clarity
I
Act.
do believe so too. It's they've been kicking the can down the road for so long here. I think we are there with utility, and we're seeing that the people starting to talk now. These major hedge funds and
Exactly.
they're saying like now is the time for utility. Like
Yep.
now it's no longer about speculation and meme coins. I'm not saying you can't make money with meme coin or whatever, but I'm like blockchain is moving into more maturity
Yeah, it
utility.
is. Yeah, it's now definitely Main Street, Wall Street kind of scenario that's playing out. RWAs are going to have one of the biggest components in this. I'm still curious as to whether or not we will see the tokenization of a lot of these commodities, because if that comes online, which has been talked about several
Oh,
times, if that comes online and then we deal with the cross-border settlement requirement, which is going to be Ripple, it seems to be that would be a killer component. And essentially, you would have, man, you would literally, the US dollar would lose its global reserve almost immediately if you had that kind of, because those assets alone in comparison,
yeah.
and gold just surpassed the US dollar just the other day. So if you're using gold as one of those commodity tranches, significantly different.
It's crazy because the DTCC admitted that they plan to, I think, tokenize like 100 trillion within 2 years, and then we had the World
Right.
Economic Forum 3 years ago saying that we would have 10% of the GDP tokenized within 3 years. We're kind of there right now,
Yep.
and you have the head of, I think, is it BlackRock or World Economic Forum saying that, I think it's head of BlackRock saying that like everything is going to be tokenized, which is what I've been saying,
Yeah.
because that's the whole plan anyways, and like everything's going on blockchain, everything. Like, the
Yeah.
same way, Paul, everything moved to the internet when we had the 3rd industrial age, which was the information age, everything eventually moved to the internet.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, and you there are tell signs of it out there as well. I mean, this is something that has been out for a while, and we've talked about this before. But SBI, they're getting ready. They partnered now with XRP, obviously on cross-border payments. This is in the Japanese and the Korean markets, which are huge. Korea is a huge market for XRP, but Japan is making big moves in the digital realm in terms of where blockchain is going. But this is a major collaboration now with what we will see around the use cases of XRP Ledger and what that might look like. So many people have been saying, don't worry about it. This is it's all smoke and mirrors, but now it's starting to become no longer smoke and mirrors. This is
Uh,
real use case.
yeah,
Yeah.
and SBI is I think is the biggest private shareholder of
Of Ripple.
Ripple for many years. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they own 9% now. They helped to settle the lawsuit between, and I know you know that already, but
Yep.
they helped to settle the lawsuit between R3 and Ripple.
Yep.
And their CEO has always said that all of Japan will run on XRP. He's
There you
been
go. Well, right
he's
now
been
it's
held back. Yeah,
Japanese and the Koreans,
yeah.
both. So big Asian market moves out there. We're going to be covering this and a whole lot more this week here on the podcast. As usual, Jesse is always a gentleman and a scholar coming in. So we do appreciate your time, Jesse. I know you're busy out there. So thanks for the time today.
Man, it's always such an honor to be on your show and be able to talk to you, Paul. Like if you're coming on the Paul Barron show and you can't try to be a gentleman, I mean,
Are you heading, by the way, are you heading over to the XRP event in Vegas?
yeah, I was gonna ask you the same thing. It would be
Okay.
so nice
Well,
to
we'll
see
we'll
you if
definitely
it's possible.
hook
But I
up
wanted to
there.
ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be there. We're going to be doing a media stage right there from the XRP event. We're going to have kind of the a litany of our interview experts, etc., that will be there. Some of it will be airing live, and some of it will be posted right post event. So there's going to be so many big things, and we have some huge news coming at that event. So be on the lookout. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening, guys. Get ready. And the amount of people that are going this year, unbelievable. So get there, say hi to Jesse, come by, shake our hands, and we'll definitely see you there for sure. Jesse, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's always an honor, man. I really appreciate you having me.
All right, you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, follow Jesse out there on YouTube. And of course, we will see you next time right here on the XRP Pod. Take care.